Yes, yes. Okay, fantastic. We are at full bit rate strength. Sorry, I accidentally started streaming to Vimeo for like 5 seconds, so I had to go back real quick and change my stream settings. But hi, hello everyone, happy Friday. How is everyone doing? Hope you are doing well. Okay, I should actually make sure people can see me. Yes. Okay. People can see me. It says I'm live. I just got a notification saying I'm live. So I think that means we're working. So, hello. We have the Bendita camera is back. She had dental surgery. Well, I don't know what to call it. Like, is it dental cleaning? But she had extraction. So like, whatever that is, she had that done on Thursday, and she's doing well. She's still a little bit of a sleepy girl, but her energy's good. She's eating well. She's doing fine. Routine thing, but she's she's loving that blanket. I don't know. She's like fully ensconced, and I love that for her. Okay. Well, hello. Thank you so much for being here. So, before we get into things, oh, we're in the middle of a heavy rain and lightning storm in this stream. It's just a white square. Ooh, I haven't heard that before. Hopefully that gets better. Well, I can see you in the chat at least, so you're connected enough for that, but yeah, I know. It's the trouble with streaming and storms and such. Okay, so before we get too far into things, hi, hello, this is an 18 plus only stream. I can't see it because I'm like logged into my account, but hopefully what it should have set up now is when you join the chat, there's like a little rule thingy that pops up you have to agree to. Did people see that today? Did you guys get to see the little, like, I saw, like, when I went to go check comments on my recent video, I saw that you could see, for the comment section, you could see stuff. Actually, I can probably check it from my phone. Because that was, like, a nice, I don't know, maybe it depends on if you're on mobile or not, but, yeah. Tell Bendito my chunky kitty, Ronan, said meow. She loves cats, I will tell her that. You have a cat friend that says meow, Bandita. I know. Meow. She enjoyed that. Thank you. I know, so confusing. The people make cat noises. So strange. Why do they do this? Nobody knows. Okay, so 18 plus only stream, as usual. Okay, you saw. Awesome. Great. Fantastic. There's an FAQ down below. Please read that if you would like. It's got a bunch of answers and links to answers for commonly asked questions like, how do I tell my boyfriend I want to try kink? Where can I buy a paddle? That kind of question. What books do you recommend or movies? All that stuff's down there. And also just some general rules. Really simple, really easy. Just be polite, listen to the mods, don't spam the chat. This is a Q&A, so if you want to make sure you get your question answered, I recommend asking it early. You can highlight it using a super chat or using Streamlabs down below. It'll highlight it on screen. I'll answer it right away as soon as I'm done with whatever current question I'm on. And otherwise, you just have to pray that I'm going to answer it. Because I can't promise I'm going to get to it, but I try to get to as many as I can. And then we also have people in the chat here as well that will also give their own responses and answers, because I am not a monolith. I'm not like the sole existing expert on kink, which I hope everyone understands. I have my own knowledge and my opinions, but everyone else has a different experience. I don't know everything about everything. So if you're like, how do I pick a good chastity cage? I want to be like, good luck with that. I don't know. Probably start with something that's not like super cheap and made out of sharp metal. Probably don't get something from Wish that's gonna cut you by accident because the edges aren't finished properly. It's gonna be my wheelhouse there of expertise. But yeah, I'm so glad to hear everyone is doing well. I'm going to go ahead and just jump into some questions. I will also say, like usual, the title for the live stream is just a suggestion of topics we could cover. I've been in like a mode of making a bunch of videos about collars and like collaring lately. You guys haven't seen any of them yet, but they're in the works, and I'm going to be talking about collaring ceremony ideas and alternatives to collars. And I'm also, somebody sent me a TikTok that was, I don't know how to I guess, like, a person whose mom was kinky and collared in a DS relationship with somebody that was not this person's biological father, and the issues that resulted from that. And there's both sort of like her story as it is, and then also sort of the average TikToker response to it. And it's a lot to unpack. It is kind of like, I read that, like, I read the comments under these videos, it just like hit me right there for some reason. Like, because I'm not a person that like wears visible signs of kink relationships anymore. I made a decision not to do that anymore because, well, one, my job is on the internet, so like people are always speculating about everything anyway. I don't really want to invite more of that. And two, it's not really that discreet. And I'm going to be talking about that in the video on collar alternatives pretty extensively, because I find like they're marketed, like the collars themselves are marketed as being very like stealthy and discreet, and like no one's gonna know what it is, and like people know what it is. Maybe not like a lot of people, but enough to where I've seen viral videos of people taking videos of people at their places of work. There was, was it like I don't know what it was. I don't know if this person was like a medical provider or what they were, but it was like somebody in like that kind of field, and a person took a video of them at their work because they were wearing a collar, and like it got a bunch of attention on Twitter. And like people know what it is now, because the internet is like, now there's less segregated spaces online between like adults and niche interest groups. Like we're all just kind of on the same social media platforms in different corners of it. So you get a lot of people that learn about things that they wouldn't have in, 2005 or, even earlier than that, on the very, very early internet. And it's caused both people to have more understanding of who they are and maybe be introduced to things that could end up being very important to them. But also it means a lot of people that probably shouldn't know what things are, know what they are, and then they get very weird and judgmental about it, and it's just like not worth it. But anyways, that's kind of like what I'm working on. Oh, and I'm also doing a video on alpha, beta, omega roleplay. So if you have questions or thoughts or experiences with alpha, beta, omega, or like alpha, beta roleplay, I would love to hear it, because people have been wanting a video on this for quite a long time. I feel like I've maybe started to miss the boat a little bit on covering it as like a hot topic, because once upon a time, people on YouTube are making videos talking about alpha, beta, omega fanfiction. I feel like the era's kind of passed, but I also feel like it's good to see how things go once the dust has settled and the true aficionados are still around. It's you want to assess things not just when it's a hot topic, I feel like, but that's what's on the front burner, the back burner, in the pantry, so on and so forth, in the Evie Lupine YouTube kitchen. So that's the update on that. But yeah, we can basically go over whatever y'all want to talk about: dating, kink, BDSM, sexuality, queer stuff, ace stuff, polyamory, the scourge of social media. Whatever y'all want to cover. Oh, Doggo moved. Doggo is hidden behind the blanket now. Very tricksy. Very tricksy, hiding behind the blanket. No one can see you there. She's just staring at me like, yeah. No one can see you, honey. Hi, baby. I want to move the blankie, okay? Is that going to be okay? Yeah, there we go. I moved this closer. Can people see you better? Oh God. Okay. I have this, like, very precariously perched here, so we're just going to... the cord's longer than that. There we go. It's got some more slack on it now. What? Is it? It thinks it's upside down now? I don't know. It's all jacked up now. I'm gonna have to like turn it on and like turn it off again. It's not actually upside down, but it thinks it's upside down, which is confusing. I guess I could reset it. I don't know if that actually helped. Maybe I will... I'm gonna deactivate it and reactivate it. Nope, it's still upside down. I don't even know how that's possible. Maybe if I drop it again, it'll fix it. maybe I just need to drop it enough times and it'll like knock it back into position. Okay, give me a second. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. What are you doing? You're so cute. if I'm fixing it or not. This is a whole inelegant operation. Okay, what am I gonna do if it just thinks it's upside down, like, permanently now? Oh, I guess I could just, like, unplug it and plug it back in again. Maybe that'll fix it. I don't know if it's gonna, like, auto reconnect or what. It's probably not gonna reconnect. Now it's frozen. This is a very, very funny occurrence. Yes, okay, that sometimes, literally, unplugging it and plugging it back in again works so often. It does seem to have, like, a white spot thing going on. I don't know what that is. I think it's, oh, that's just from the window. That's just from the window, baby. That's not, for a second I thought it might be damaged, but no, it's a little bright, but we can see Bendita in all her glory. What are your thoughts on Nick Raketa getting arrested on drug and child neglect charges? Bro has fallen so hard. Am I supposed to know him from something? I feel like that name... Is he like a law guy? Like, that name feels familiar, but I can't identify any particular content I would know him from. Like, is he associated with, like, the, like, Marilyn Manson case or anything like that? I feel like I remember him maybe being associated with, like, the pro-Manson camp? I don't know. Have you seen the train wreck called Couple to Thruple on Peacock? Oh boy, howdy, do I have a story for you. We are doing a watch party for that on Patreon this coming week. And we're going to watch the first couple episodes this week and then probably next week. Possibly, I might have to break it up into, like, once the beginning of June and once the end of June. We'll, like, get through all of it together. Because it's, like, there's, like, every episode's, like, an hour long. And there's, like, 12 of them. So it's a lot to get through. Maybe it's 10 episodes. I don't know how long people do TV shows for anymore. I feel like what I used to know about television is all completely inaccurate. Like, I thought reality TV was supposed to be 56 episodes that were, like, 24 minutes long each. And that's not how things are done these days. But I do know of Couple to Thruple or Couple to Thruple. I've not watched it yet. I have intentionally abstained from viewing any other content about it or looking it up, or I just want to have a pure raw experience of what Couple to Thruple is going to be like, but I'm aware of it, yes. Lawyer guy for the Johnny Depp case. No, he wasn't a lawyer for Johnny Depp, was he? He just, like, covered it on YouTube. Oh, he streamed the whole trial on YouTube. Oh, yeah. I'm not shocked. I feel like a lot of those people, like, there was, like, a group of, what, like, 6 or 8 lawyers that were all, like, live streaming the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and then later did Johnny Depp, and I feel like I'm not surprised. I would maybe be a little bit surprised if, Emily Baker, I think, the one with the purple hair, I'd be surprised if something, like, came out about her, because I think she's a little too buttoned up to really have any problems, to be honest with you. But any of the other ones, I'd be like, yeah, no, that makes sense. They definitely fit more into, like, the sleazy lawyer category for me in my brain. So that's not really shocking. I don't know. It's not. I guess I just don't really have a strong reaction to it, I suppose. But thank you for letting me know about it. You never know. It's, like, actually kind of amazing how many people, like, make a shit ton of money on YouTube very quickly and then seemingly squander it all on drugs. Like, I can think of, not that I want to name names, I can think of probably 3 times that's happened that I know of where and I'm sure there's way more than that that's happened behind the scenes, where people have suddenly blown up on YouTube and they've made so much money. They just, and a lot of them already have pre-existing issues. What do you spend it on to numb the pain quickly and easily? That's what ends up happening. Not a good choice, not something I support doing, but if people are gonna do it, and addiction is a heck of a problem to have, and it's rough. So, yeah, but I feel like I think now that I know the name, I do remember seeing something about this on Twitter. because it wasn't just him that got arrested, right? It was like him and a mistress. Like, it was like was there like a throuple scenario? Was there like a drug fueled throuple scenario happening? Is that the angle? What is happening? First of all, Zoomers, stop making throuple happen. It's stupid. I don't know what it is with like young people and like later adoption on the internet, like bringing back things that were once considered to be like grotesquely lame. I feel like we threw away the term throuple because like the term triad sounds better, and I feel like it's also more accurate to the spirit of the intention of polyamory, because ideally with a healthy 3-partner relationship, it's not just a couple plus a third, it's 3 people in a relationship together. Not see they do that, like there's like 2 in brackets plus 1, and then there's 3, you know, like it's just, maybe mathematically that doesn't really matter, but like the way you represent it, I feel like makes a difference. I just feel like thruple's an icky word and I don't like it. Ugh. Not my favorite. Not the worst word ever. Not scary, but distasteful maybe. Josh was right on Rakita. I don't know who Josh is. Who are all these people? Medicur, and DSP. I don't know who any of these people are. Oh my god, it was a swingers party with April and his wife. No! Of course it was! Okay, now I see what people ask me about this, because there's a whole throuple dynamic situation happening. Oh no. What if we brought back the term smexy? I mean, if we do that, we're going to have to bring back like glomp, and we're going to have to bring back a lot of words if we start bringing back. Like, the only way you can use the word smexy is if you, first of all, how is that not the first thing we did as soon as things started to be censored on TikTok? How is smexy not the immediate first thing that we did? Maybe that's also censored. It's like, okay, if we have to compare jargon, right? Because everything's very one-to-one. We have throuple versus triad. Triad wins every time. All right, easy. No notes. That one gets through easy peasy. Then we have segs or segsy versus smexy. Smexy wins every time. There. That's a clean sweep. That's just nothing to say about that. It is what it is. When we get to Riz versus swag, I am team Riz. Riz is, I think, the better term. I think when we have the term Rizzler, I don't think there's no way you can compete with that. Rizzler is too strong of a term. It simply is fantastic. But glomp has no comparison. Nobody, is there an equivalent to glomp in current internet slang? We're also touch starved that we didn't even come up with an alternative way of saying glomp. That's like, that maybe is stretching a bit, but honestly, I'm like, maybe we didn't replace that word because we just don't, that's like such a deprioritized part of social interactions that we don't even like think about doing that. It's like, yeah, it is a thing. Millennial versus Zoomer lingo, we too are cringe. I mean, everyone has cringe. Everyone has their own cringe language, their own words. It's all like the things that the next generation comes up with. Gen Alpha quickly appearing on the scene here, making their own words and their own things, and that's when I'm really gonna lose it. I feel like Zoomer stuff, because I'm right on the edge, I get it. Even if maybe I didn't like use it in high school, I get it. But whatever Gen Alpha is gonna say, I'm gonna be completely lost on. I am 100% confident in that conclusion. Oh, squee. Yeah, that one also doesn't really. Do people do that kind of like third-person roleplay over text, like stuff where you'd say something like squeeze? Is it like a thing people do anymore? I do like Riz. That's my problematic fave is Riz. Oh my goodness. That was I don't know. It just has a Skibbity I don't like as much, because to me, I think of Skibbity and I think of like stage tunes. I think of like tap dancing. That's like the mental association I have with it. But yeah. Everyone was using the word smexy. I remember saying that on like fucking DeviantArt in like 2006 or 7 probably. It was a thing. Everyone should. This is okay. This is like unironically, this is a point that I'm going to make in the video that I'm working on, where I talk about like. Well, I guess I don't know. I have a video where I'm talking about like why does everyone hate kinky people now, and like kind of the collective backlash that I've noticed happening over the last couple years with polyamory and kink. And I'm going to talk about it there, but I'm also going to talk about it maybe in a more refined way in another video where I talk about the person on TikTok with the mom who was collared and like how that was awkward and like emotionally enmeshed and inappropriate. I'm going to talk about how being cringe is not bad, and it's sad that we have decided that anything that a person is unironically enthusiastic about is cringy. Like, oh, you have a fulfilling and genuinely sought after relationship with a person that's a little bit like non-traditional, that's cringe. Oh, you are what am I looking for? Not just enthusiastic, but it doesn't matter, I guess. But like, you are enthusiastic about this relationship that you have and you're public about it, that's cringy. That's like essentially what it is people are sort of haters because kinky people have genuine joy that they might show in a quasi public way. I find it extremely interesting that people's reaction to seeing a plain metal circlet around somebody's neck is to be like, keep it in the bedroom. Like the whole reason one of the sort of two reasons that we invented those and started to use them more widely was to be discreet and to not put it in everyone's faces that like, hey, we do weird shit. And like now that's seemingly for a certain percentage of the population completely lost, and now we are cursed to deal with that forever. It is, being willing to be cringe is very liberating. Squee did go down with LiveJournal. I think you're probably right on that. Honestly, a weird number of things still, like, there's pockets of the internet that have retained certain now defunct terminology and practices. And I would say, if you ever want to go to a place that's the most backwards part of the internet, it's Goodreads. Goodreads reviews are written by women that have not updated their interaction with the internet in probably like 10 or 15 years. Like, if you want to pretend like it's 2010 again, go to Goodreads and read some reviews for books. It's amazing, honestly. It's amazing. I think the book talkers are starting to change things, but they're holding fast with their Iron Man, Captain America reaction gifs to everything. They are holding on to those ones tightly. Peak cringe, but so fun. I mean, the only, like, cringe is, and there's obviously a fantastic ContraPoints video about cringe. I will probably reference in the video that I'm working on about like collaring and stuff like that, because I think that's a phenomenon that people find to be cringe. What I think is interesting is that everyone is leaving the furries alone. The furries are like, they're the ones that are allowed to be cringe now, whereas they used to be the universal punching, like, not punching bag. I don't know why I thought block for a second, but they used to be the universal punching bag of the internet. Everyone was like, oh, well, furries, like, they're weird. And like now everyone's like, the furries are cool. Like, don't mess with the furries. But everything else in every other group possible is cringe, except for the furries. No one's willing to take a swing at the furries these days. Oh, we're doing great. Yep, help Goodreads. It's true. Listen, I only ever go onto Goodreads when I'm trying to find a reference for a book or to find like a cover or something to show in a video. And even just with that limited amount of interaction, I have an extremely precise sense of what happens in the Goodreads community. And I would like to stay far away because the fumes of toxicity that radiate off of Goodreads reviews they're palpable. Like, I can feel them through my computer screen, and I do not want to have anything to do with that. I don't think anyone hates furries. I think people used to hate furries, and I feel like now furries are, like, protected. I feel now everyone's like, actually, the furries are fine. Back in the day, Certainly. And I think obviously some people online probably still do not like furries, but I think that's changed. All right. Let's get into some questions. So, from Kat, who is apparently literally a cat, a black cat nonetheless. Do you have any advice for going to dungeon parties as a relatively young female sub who is not going to play with anyone there because my essentially monogamous partner will not be present? Yes, I was in a somewhat similar boat. I had left a monogamous relationship prior to getting into the kink scene, so I was not in that exact situation, but I was like pretty young before I started to go to parties. I was 20, and then I turned like 21, like pretty shortly at, like kind of around when I started to get into the kink scene. But I have a distinct memory of going to a slosh on around my 21st, and everyone buying me drinks, and I got a free riding crop that someone had built and had like an entire package of in the back of their car. Like it was a fantastic evening. It was great. But not to get too much in my own stories here. Dungeon parties as a young person, I think a lot of it is going to come down to picking the right party and the right venue. I don't know where you live. I don't know how many options you have, if you even have options, or if it's just kind of there's the one public thing everyone knows about, if that, and that's, take it or leave it basically. I would definitely, let's just say, okay, you have like one venue that's like the public kink venue that regularly hosts events. And let's say they have events every week. Maybe they got like a party on like a Friday and on a Saturday night. I would go through, maybe look at probably like 2 months worth of events and see what options they have. There could be like general play party nights, femdom nights, game nights, littles nights, pet players nights, Edgeplay nights, like any massage nights, like solo play nights, rope bondage nights, like the list goes on and on and on. But try to get a sense of what types of parties there are. Narrow it down to probably like 2 or 3 that sounds the best. Depending on where you live, you may be required to go to like an intro party first, so you may not really have a choice, but let's just say that you have a choice and you're trying to decide what to pick from because you have an option. I would go to the different events on FetLife. I would check to see who is RSVP'd and how many people. Having more people RSVP'd is not necessarily better. I would just kind of quickly maybe take a couple of minutes, look at people's profiles. Are they blank? Are they filled out? What are the ages? How involved are the people in the scene? If you were looking at different parties and like one is a party that's all, like 45-year-old swingers, and a different party is all like queer people under the age of 30, like you're probably going to have a better time at the second event versus the first one, even if maybe the labels for the party are not necessarily like what you would be looking for at the outset. So look to see who's probably going to be attending, see if they fit your vibe. I recommend intro nights, anything that has like a social aspect to it, especially up front initially, like karaoke or a potluck or a discussion group, anything like that, because that'll give you an opportunity to socialize first and get to know people, and then also be able to clearly communicate that you have a monogamous partner and you're there with friends. Anything with like speed dating or matchmaking, anything, just like obviously don't even go anywhere near that. That's not going to really be the vibe for you. But that's what I would look for, is just seeing that. And then also like see how robust the rules are, see if you can like look at the event organizer's profile and what their guidelines are, if they have pictures from the party or the venue, if they have pictures of like how people dress, things like that. And if you're ever unsure about something, like what the rules are, the typical attendee, the dress code, always reach out to the people organizing the event. Either they should be able to direct you to an FAQ if they have one, or they should be able to tell you, hey, we're so grateful that you want to come and check out our event. Yeah, normally we have about this many people that go. They tend to dress like this, and if you want to show up early, I'm happy to like talk to you and show you around. I have been to multiple parties, especially when I was much younger, where I would show up and it would be like my first time at an event, and then like somebody who was a volunteer in the line would like see me and be like, oh, you're new here. And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm like, great, we're so happy to meet you. And like they would very specifically like try to help me navigate the event, because they know how intimidating it can be for new people to go to an event, especially like by themselves as a single Pringle person. Also, if you see any events that are advertised that are for femme people primarily, I feel like those events are if you're specifically worried about like, I don't want guys to flirt with me, You might have ladies flirt with you, but unfortunately in the world of people thinking that, you know, lesbian relationships are not as threatening as heterosexual ones, people don't maybe care as much about incidental lesbian flirting as, you know, flirting from a man. So is what it is. But yeah, that's probably what I would look for. And then, you know, just show up early, get a chance to introduce yourself. If you don't feel the vibe, don't feel like you have to stay. That's the number one thing. You can go to an event and it can seem really great on paper and show up and be like, oh, these are not my people. I've been to many events like that myself where I've gone. I usually, even now when I go to events, even if I'm with a partner, the first couple of times I go, I don't plan to play because I'm trying to get a sense of the space, the attendees, if I feel comfortable there. Like if I'm going to be like naked or in underwear, you know, getting tied up or beat up or whatever it is I'm going to be doing in a public sort of space with maybe dozens to like 100+ people in the vicinity, I want to make sure I'm comfortable there. So, and like I tend to take my time with acclimating to a new event space because oftentimes I find after going to 1 or 2 events that like, oh, this isn't really the place for me, or actually the dungeon owner has a terrible reputation, or actually there's like a known predator that's openly allowed to these events that you haven't found out about yet. Like, you get into a lot of, not to scare you too much, but like feel the vibe out first before you commit to playing anywhere. If you have the opportunity, that's my advice. Yeah, but usually, I mean, does pick up play happen at parties at dungeons? Sure, absolutely. Especially as a brand new single young person, you will maybe be approached for that, depending on the vibe of the venue and what it's like. Like the first couple times I went to a dungeon party, like I had people that would come up to me and ask me about play. Oftentimes it was after we'd already been like hanging out for a long time. We'd just been like chatting to get to know each other, and then they'd be like, "Oh, were you curious about trying this?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." And then we'd go have a little mini scene, and it would be fine. But that's more or less it. But if you're like, hey, I don't want to play with people, you can also like I have a shirt. I still have a shirt actually. That I wear sometimes if I don't want to play at a party, and it says "I'm off limits" on it. So maybe if you can, I know this might be kind of last minute if you're looking to go like very soon, but maybe if you can find like a cheeky, and I would really like to remake my merch. It's on the infinite to-do list of things to do for my channel. I'd like to start maybe developing a new partnership with a merch company and like getting some new designs in. I'd love to make like a shirt or a sticker or something that says something like that on it. That's like I'm off limits, or like don't approach me, or whatever, you know, don't talk to me. You can also use, there's something, this very much depends on the venue. But you can also look into something called flagging or the hanky code. And just to make sure I'm telling you the right stuff, if you are not down for anything that is orange, you have to be careful about orange though, because orange means opposite things depending what pocket you're putting it in. So, if you're wearing orange on the right side, so on your right side, so for me it would be here, right? If I had a back pocket or maybe a harness to tie it to, or like a bag or something that was on my right side, tying an orange bandana to that indicates that you don't want anything. Not depending on what kink space you're in, people are either going to know that, or they're going to be like, I just thought it was a handkerchief, or like they're not going to get it. But if you want to try that, that might be another option too. Flagging is a little bit more common, much more common actually, in the leather scene and at like bigger events, conventions, things like that. But you will see it at other parties too, especially with people that have more of that kind of aesthetic for sure. Thank you so much, Evie. I feel a lot better getting into it now. And yes, I am a cat. Yes. I don't know. Do cats wear bandanas? Maybe they do. I guess if you're wearing pigtails as well, you could probably do an orange hanky on one side. I don't know. Or maybe, no, that'd probably be too complicated. But anyways, hopefully that gives you some ideas to work with there. But luckily, all will be well. You'll have a fun time and you meet some fun people. So there you go. Thanks for your question. Okay, I'm going to get, before I get too far ahead of myself in the chat, let's get into some more questions. Yes. And in the meantime, if you have not checked the FAQ, please do. All right, it is working. Spencer says, "Hi Evie. Last weekend I got paddled for the first time, and I had bruises all weekend. Every time I saw them, I was so happy, and I absolutely love the experience. Thanks for teaching us about this." You are so welcome, Spencer. That is fantastic. I'm very excited for you. Paddling is a very divisive activity. People either love it or hate it, or they only like paddling with certain instruments or not. Especially wood paddles tend to be very, very divisive. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and they do give paddling is great for bruises. Absolutely. So, yes. And honestly, bruises, it's amazing how much you think before you get into kink. You're like, wow, the pain's going to be so intense. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. And then when you're in the moment and you're doing it, and then afterwards, and you look at the bruises, you're like, yeah, I did that. And it's part of the joy of the experience, for sure. Part of the joy. Gotta watch. You're just role playing. Listen, Lexi, you're just role playing watching it in 144p. This is just 2008 YouTube. This is fine. Just go with it. I filmed this on my Canon PowerShot. Oh goodness. Okay. Okay, sorry. I'm looking for questions here. Okay, you did get a pop up. Okay, cool. Glad that's working. I'm still figuring out if it's got everything I wanted to say in it, but I feel like that's a good place to start as any. Yes. Oh, the vibe too. Yeah. The vibe of a dungeon party, I mean, it really depends on the party. Like, if it's more of like a advanced, like an edge players night, and it's like themed around something like it's bondage or blood play or like wrestling or something, it's probably going to be mostly people that are there to do this specific thing, and it's going to be probably very intense and focused. But most dungeon parties are, especially when it's not like an event weekend and it's just kind of like a regular old Friday or Saturday or Thursday or what have you, it's going to be a lot of people milling around and talking, maybe having a drink or a snack depending on the venue, and not always alcoholic, to be clear, not always adult beverages, but some kind of beverage. And they they just hang out and they socialize, they chit chat, they talk, they watch other scenes, and it's going to be, I don't know, 60 to 90% hanging out, and 10% to like 25% people actually playing at any given time, depending very much on the venue. I've been to venues where it's like way more the other way. Like when I've gone to like conventions, for example, those are almost always like predominantly played, like 80+% play probably at any given time. And then it's a night where on you have people in aftercare and stuff, so you get more people doing a mix. But at the average regular dungeon party, it's going to be mostly people socializing a lot, and that can take the pressure off. But it totally depends on where you live. It could be very different where you're at. Also depends on how much space is available and how many people are in the local scene, too. That definitely can change the dynamic, too. But usually it's just casual, friendly. Lots of nerdy folk, lots of, I don't know how to describe it exactly without just being, like, the sorts of people you expect, but, like, it's not going to be just, like, only hot model people and, like, lingerie and, like, you know, aggressive dudes that are trying to find, like, hey, do you want to join my harem? Like, it's gonna be people that are, especially regulars, are there to socialize, hang out with friends, and like meet new people, because that's what they like to do, and that's like how they socialize. Yeah, and as long as you're maintaining a respectful distance, you're not like interrupting people's scenes, you can always watch too. Like, it's very normal for people just to show up and like watch and hang out and then leave. And like maybe that's more comfortable. Like maybe you don't even want to talk to people. You can also just literally be a fly on the wall and just like, you know, have a little snack or a drink with you and just like watch scenes. And like people will try to start conversations with you probably at some point, but yeah. Okay, this is a very specific question, and I love it. Jennifer asks, what are your thoughts on transient hypofrontality, at least in relation to kink? I've been reading some studies about the correlation between it and subspace and dom space, and I find it interesting. Yes. So this is something I've been hearing about. I think the first person I remember introducing this concept to me was Shay from Shay and Stefanos, and she talked about transient hypofrontality as it relates to a flow state, I think specifically, or maybe actually, it's been a while since I've heard her talk about this. So I'm transient hypofrontality being an explanation for subspace, and then also separately like flow state being connected to dom space, I think is that connection exactly. I've heard about that for the last couple of years. I mean, I guess I don't really know what to say, but my thoughts on it, like I haven't conducted my own research on it, so I think it's definitely a plausible explanation for at least some kinds of subspace. It's very likely that there's, I always think there's like, it's like, you know how we try to explain dreams, and it's like we have all these other theories for how dreams happen, and there's probably like half a dozen of them at least, and the content of dreams especially as well, there's other theories for that. I don't think it's ever going to be one definitive answer of like this is the thing that is subspace, because I really think that what we call subspace is probably like a bunch of similar appearing but separate, like, biological, physiological, neurochemical phenomenon that we're all just kind of lumping together because a certain activity is provoking them, right? Like, I think transient hypofrontality is certainly a part of it. I think, you know, things like a runner's high, for example, is probably connected to it. I think, this is kind of maybe not really getting into subspace, but there's like different, this is like with drop, for example, there's like different kinds of drop depending on what was like the dominant neurotransmitter that caused you to have drop in the first place. So this is something, for example, a YouTuber that I watch quite a bit named Dr. K. He's a psychiatrist out of Harvard Medicine. He's a YouTuber, very well spoken. Don't necessarily agree with him on everything, but I find if you listen to him for long enough, even if you're like, I'm not really sure where he's taking this, he ends up taking it to a very reasonable place, and you have to be just like, if you pop into a video where he's talking about Ayurveda, he probably is not meaning it literally. I guess is the disclaimer I want to give. But for example, he talks about like dopaminergic versus serotonergic happiness. And I haven't looked into that independently of videos that he's done because it hasn't really been relevant to my interest fully. But I think that's something we probably also see with kink too, is similarly to how different kinds of happiness can be caused by different neurotransmitters, kink changes in like mental state are probably caused by different volumes of neurotransmitters in different amounts, and that probably we're going to have different ways of explaining that too, for sure. So there are, in videos I've done before, I've talked about subspace and subdrop and stuff. I have referenced that, especially my more recent videos. I've talked about the very basic like potential neurobiological model for a lot of this, and it's on the edge of my scope of expertise. Like, kind of the amount that I talk about in the video is sort of like where my knowledge ends. Like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, don't really have that depth of understanding with the human brain, but I know enough to be able to get by with explaining things for sure. But yeah, I think it's a good explanation, but I don't think it's necessarily the complete story by itself. All right, Angela asks, Evie, I was wondering if you have any ideas for vegan-friendly impact play toys that are more thuddy besides like wooden paddles. Yes, Angela, that is exactly my wheelhouse. So it depends on how much sting you are willing to take with your thud. I am very, very, very sensitive to sting. I'm sort of a Goldilocks when it comes to impact play. I like either all sting or all thud. I don't really like it when it's both. I find that harder to process mentally, personally. Just that's my own brain. So, for example, some people do really like rubber, like especially upcycled tires, is very popular for toys. Those can be kind of more slappy. I've seen people make floggers out of them. Those can be very, very stingy. But I've also seen people make them into like looped paddles, especially like very thick rubber, like belt rubber. I think I've seen before, and I find rubber and silicone, even if it's very heavy and thuddy, tends to have a lot of surface sting to it. So it's not my favorite for that reason. But if you don't mind kind of mixing the two, that can be an option. I think Tantus makes a silicone paddle that is the bane of literally every bottom to this day that I've ever known to interact with it. So that's probably one very commonly easily found item. Certainly for what I like to play with, I like just like pure thud, and for me that would be metal. So usually that would be, I've seen people make steel, like stainless steel, but usually aluminum. Usually that. I say aluminum but like aluminum, whatever. I don't know. I just decided that when I was like, I don't know, in like 7th grade, I heard somebody say aluminium, and I decided that was a way better way to say it. And I don't know. It's one of the ways that I'm cringe, I guess. I don't know. Cancel me for that. Why don't you? But I really like metal. That's probably my favorite, and that's you can. There's so many different stores that make metal toys. There's LUVX Supply or suppliers. They're on Etsy, and they make a short spanking rod. That's, I think their thuddy spanking rod is, I want to say, an inch in diameter. I think they have anything between like very very thin, maybe 5/16, not for metal, but in general, maybe all the way up to an inch. And I think they have 1/2 inch, 3/4, and inch diameter for their metal. And their metal ones. Little Fox makes, and they're not really an Etsy. You have to kind of catch them at events. So if you see Little Fox at an event, I think they're gonna be vending at Dark Odyssey events this summer. They're mostly on the East Coast, so if you're sort of in the Midwest and East, you'll probably see them at events. They make 2 metal toys. They make, I think they call them slappers and boppers. And the slappers are like flat metal discs, and then the boppers are like little metal like spheres basically on a longer rod, so you kind of get more reach with them. They're more meant for like drumming or sort of like caning-esque sort of play. And I really like those. I've used those in scenes before quite a bit. They also at one point in time had upcycled bowling ball pins, and I snagged one. So that's very thuddy. Foam baseball bats, actually, speaking of that, foam baseball bats, also popular. Also, if you're a little, or just a pet player as well, I guess you could they probably have a foam baseball bat with like Bluey on it. That's probably a thing at this point. So yeah, you can definitely get something that's more themed, especially if you're like a little or a pet player. For foam baseball bats, that's an option. What else do I know of that's like, fire hose, upcycled fire hose. There's a couple of stores on Etsy that sell upcycled fire hose. I have found, and I have 2 sizes of them, I find that those can still have a surface sting to them, so they're not my favorite. I know a lot of people really love them, and they're beautiful. I think it's Kinkworks RX? It's just Kinkworks. They're in Texas, I want to say. I'm not sure I'm sending it all to the right place. Yes, it's Kinkworks RX. See, I'm a repository of information. They also have a bunch of wooden paddles on there too. They also have leather, but they have upcycled fire hose spanking straps. Straps in general, or strops is a good one to look for. But they're made from fire hose. They're very beautiful, very high quality, nice finish on them. But I do feel like they have a little bit of a surface stink still. But if you're crafty, because of the way that they are constructed, and I haven't done this because I'm not that crafty, you can probably unscrew the handle from the fire hose strap and then fill it with something. Like you could probably fill it with coins or quarters and probably make it thuddier that way. Honestly, sock filled with quarters with little googly eyes on it. Maybe not googly eyes, but you know, just Sharpie on some eyes on there. Those are also great. Like the simple, easy, if you just got a jar of pennies lying around, put it in a big old hiking sock and you're good to go. I feel like that's a great one too. Rope also popular, especially like looped rope for floggers. I've seen people do like thicker rope for like, I don't know how to describe it because they're like handheld, but it's not really any sort of other implement. Like it's kind of just like I've heard them called like bonkers, I want to say before. That feels wrong, but bongers or boinkers or something like that. They're basically just like really, really thick things of rope you just hit somebody with. But those are probably like in the broad strokes, all of the examples I can think of off the top of my head. But my favorite would be the thuddy, let's see, it's it's LU. Did I say LU? It's LVX Supply. Ooh, they have a new design. Okay. That looks like something I've seen from Little Fox and a couple other places, but I'm not going to accuse anyone of design infringement. It's not, but they actually have a thuddy section on their store. Yeah, it's a short thuddy spanking cane. They also have a steel and rope paddle. I've not tried that one before, so I can't speak to it. And they also have some like more advanced toys on there as well. They have like a copper spanking cane that's electroconductive. If you're really into heavy stuff, they have a retractable steel cane that's like a police baton essentially. That's definitely going to be for more advanced people. But yeah. Yeah, they have a war club design that they have recently released. It looks very similar to one that LVX makes, or not that Little Fox makes. And I'm like, well, I guess sort of in their wheelhouse already of designs to make. But yeah. Anyways, not going to get involved in any potential shop drama that may or may not be occurring there. The sock with coins might be a little dangerous. Just be careful it isn't too painful or too many coins and you fall over. It reminds me of the Seinfeld scene where Kramer paid entirely in coins. Okay, I guess it depends on how big the sock is. I have never had that happen, and I'm not a very big person, so. But yeah, I mean, with any thuddy impact play, you're going to want to make sure you're on a sturdy piece of furniture because there is so much mass as part of making it thuddy that you're going to be putting more force into the person. This is probably not like the physically accurate way of explaining this, but bear with me. Like, yeah, you want to be careful of like how you're doing it. Like, don't just randomly do it when they're standing up with no support and they're not like prepared for it. Like, there's a reason why people like semi kneel over for like a whipping scene with no furniture next to them at all, and they just kind of stand there and do it. Versus with like thuddy impact play, people are mostly on like crosses, spanking horses, etc. Because if you're just standing up and you're taking all of that force, you are probably going to fall down. But that's not really the implement itself. That's more a function of the mass required to make something thuddy, if that makes sense. I've been seeing someone who's vegan, and it's great to have some nudies. Yes, there's so many options. A lot of them you can DIY, especially with like the upcycled stuff and rope. So if you want to have a little craft night, if you're crafty, you have options for sure. People also use nylon rope too, not just natural fiber for like rope toys. I find also those a little bit more stingy, but it depends on kind of what level of sensation you're going for. Also, don't hit anyone in the face with a bag full of coins. Just in case that wasn't obvious, don't hit someone in the face with the coins. Just don't go there. That's probably too much. But thank you for asking. Great question. Little update on my rope shopping adventure. A local teacher sells Posh. Oh, good. So I'll be grabbing that at the next social. Been experimenting with cling wrap as well. I think you mentioned that in a recent bondage vid. Yes, cling wrap I'm a big proponent of. It's great. It's simple to use, and I think especially for, like, specifically if you're trying to do more of, like, an arm binder thing or, like, a strappado situation or, like, binding the legs together, like, torso to ankles, cling wrap does that 10 times easier than when you can do it with rope, and it's less pinchy, less fiddly, and it takes, like, 5 seconds to get it off. So it's a win-win-win-win-win all across the board in my book there for cling wrap. Just racking up the W's there. But it's good. I'm glad. Posh is great. The one thing I don't love about Posh is the knots don't collapse very well. So you do end up with like bulkier knots, but I think it's worth the trade-off, especially if you're going to be getting into suspension with it for sure. Oh, yeah, I mean more newer kinksters with no support than the... Yeah. If you're playing with thud and you haven't played with thud before, do it on a piece of furniture where you feel secure and supported. And this is... Anytime I talk about impact play, it's good to mention this. Whenever you're playing with a new toy and with a new partner, test it out first, work your way up slowly, try to start at 1 and then go, level by level. Don't just rush into like, all right, here we go. Like, it's how you end up like our leg muscles and our leg bones are, unless you have osteoporosis or some other like connective tissue disorder or whatever, like most part are very strong and stable and solid, but you don't want to mess with anything. You don't want to, be careful about where you're aiming. As much as it's fun to, aim for the perineum and, the sweet spot right and, hit someone right where maybe it's activating their, I don't know how to describe this in like a YouTube friendly way. I'm like, if you're doing it in a way that is provoking feelings in a person, intimate adult feelings in a person. Be careful while you're aiming, especially with new toys, study toys. Even if your thigh bone is very strong, the end of your tailbone, not necessarily. You can definitely fracture stuff. You can definitely bruise stuff. At bare minimum, you can cause bruising and discomfort. And if you don't intend to do that, if you're not aware it's going to happen, it's going to make being at work on Monday, literally in this case, a pain in the ass. So be aware of that. I have talked about vet wrap probably 80 bajillion times on my channel. The one thing I don't love about vet wrap is you always need more of it than you think you need, and though it is very colorful, it is not reusable, and so you end up having to, like, I feel like you use a lot of it to use it in like one scene. Like you're just like, here's 6 rolls of vet wrap and you're just going through all of it. Yeah, make sure you're a rope master before you use rope chain. Make sure you've mastered ropes. Make sure you've mastered ropes for sure. Fantastic. That's never gonna leave me. So we're getting into the Nick Ricky. I'm not, like, I feel like I think his name is Nick Rikita, but I'm also not, like, it could be 6 other things, so correct me if I'm wrong on that for sure. So sleepy, such a sleepy baby. She's doing little paw thingies in her sleep. It's so cute. He was streaming the whole trial on YouTube. Oh yeah, that's right. Reality show about now monogamy. Oh, non-monogamy. Yeah. Scary. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not great. From what I understand, it's not great. But I think we have enough people pointing out why it's cringe. And I will probably also contribute my voice to that dialogue at some future point in time. Thruple versus moist. Oh, thruple. That's way worse. I'm not mentally affected by moist in any meaningful way. I don't register that in my brain as being a problem at all. Everyone gets to be cringe. It's every generation gets a permission slip to be cringe, and that's fine. That's how it should be. I have heard apparently that teenagers are calling AI art boomer art, and I feel like we need more of that. I feel like we need to all call it boomer art. I think we need to make it go the way of NFTs. We can do it, though I guess Google was not supporting NFTs, so I don't know what's going on there. But if I think about it too hard, I'm going to be sad, so I'm going to not think about it. We are too tired to squee. Yes, our hearts long to squee, but our bodies are not able. Hope everyone had a great week. Have an amazing long weekend. Yes, oh my gosh, I forget. It's a long weekend. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. It's a long weekend for everyone else. Not for me, though. Same as always. Same week as always, but I hope everyone has a fun time. Oh my gosh, never forget Super Hulock. Never forget Super Hulock. Could never, can't ever. I was there, wasn't a part of it, observed it as strictly a Sherlock fan, and boy howdy did that stuff get off the rails sometimes. I was over here on emo band Tumblr shipping Vic Fuentes and Kellen Quinn. Wow, deep cut. Not really though. That's shallow cut? I probably should. That feels like when I say that, especially in the context of an emo band, I feel like that should get this stream deleted. I feel like I shouldn't have said that. Oh, goodness. Do you have any tips for finding events like that? I guess messaging the organizers. Oh, I'm fairly similar in that regard. I think as long as you find events that feel safe and good, there's no reason you can't have a good time. Yes, I feel like messaging the event organizers will tell you so much about the event, because the event organizers kind of dictate the vibe of the space. Not always, but like attracts like in this circumstance. And if you have an event that is ran by a 50-year-old predatory person who's just using it as a way to shop for new members of his polycule, that's gonna be reflected in the other attendees of the event and the culture of the event. Whereas if you have someone that like is very serious about like BDSM and safety and consent and all of that good stuff, you know, and risk awareness and being trauma informed and inclusive and all of the good things, you are much more likely to find people that are of a like mind to that at the event itself. So if you can check out the event organizer's profile, get a sense of what their values are, what they, you know, what they're all about, that's a good step to take. And then whenever in doubt, send a message, reach out. Obviously, not everyone is going to be able to answer right away because most people that are volunteering in the kink community and running events also have regular vanilla day jobs. So they're probably in a place where they can't answer FetLife DMs all the time, but hopefully you get a response and people will be welcoming and friendly and not just tell you to buzz off, newbie. You know, if you get that response, you know not to go there for sure. Imagine finding an I Am Sherlock shirt at Goodwill. Imagine, like, would you? I feel like I'd have to handle it with gloves. I don't know, like the cringe would be too intense. I don't know if I could handle it raw. I'd have to put on some goggles and gloves first. I'd have to get suited up to be in the chemistry lab. Oh gosh, DashCon was the extinction event for Super Hulock, I think. Probably was. Somebody out there. Well, and also wasn't Supernatural on like fucking season 12 by that point? I have a distinct memory of not my roommates, but people that were on my college dorm floor all gathering together to watch like the last couple of seasons of Supernatural together because they were all fans of it and all watched it. And I was like, I've never even seen a single CW show. I've never been on the CW before. I don't know. I have no idea what's happening. It's a very confusing time, honestly, being over a decade of seasons into a show. You can't jump into that. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh yeah, what everyone else is saying about messaging the organizers is truly the way. Oh yes, Kinkworks RX is based in Austin. I believe I said they were in Texas, but if I did not, that is where they're at. I want to say Little Fox is in South Carolina or North Carolina, but I couldn't tell you which. No, I really can't. It's one of the Carolinas, I'm pretty sure. There's a lot of BDSM toy makers on the East Coast. A lot of them. Which I guess Texas isn't really East Coast, but to my brain, it is. It's more East Coast than West Coast. It's on that side of the line. I guess at least part of it, not all of it. If we're talking about West Texas, that's different. Okay. It booted me to the top of the chat, so I'm scanning for questions. Oh, yes. We're getting to the Super Hulock again. Question for you, Evie. Do you have any ideas off the top of your head concerning the element of surprise or building anticipation during scenes? Oh, boy, do I. I have a little bit older videos. Oh, God, this might probably 3 or 4 years old. Talking about surprise play and how to do that. And I think I do not like surprise. Not most of the time anyway. I'm not really a surprise person in scenes. I don't like do you know the video of, oh my god, I just blanked her name. Is it Jeanette McCurdy? The one that was Sam from iCarly, who like had a very, very negative experience and who wrote a book called I'm Happy My Mom Died or whatever. I don't really know her. I never saw anything that she was in. I was too old for to watch iCarly, but there's like a clip I've seen of her going around where I think it's one of those like gag things where like a snake, like a fake snake pops out and she has a very like clear startled reaction to it. That's me when I'm surprised. like literally unironically, that is me. I have a very strong startle response to like random like loud noises or things happening. So I do not like surprise. So I cannot tell you based on personal experience of intentionally cultivating it with positive effect. But I think I tend to lean more into anticipation versus pure surprise. I think both can be effective depending on what you want. But to me, anticipation is about kind of breadcrumbing the person and like Okay, so we've negotiated kind of what elements can be in the scene. Maybe we've been given like a thought cloud, a brainstorming session worth of ideas of like, these are the elements that I'd be comfortable, having in a scene, right? We've got handcuffs, we got rope bondage, we got zip ties, we got blindfolds, we've got hair pulling, we've got, whatever, bruises, we got, pinching, we've got tickling. Okay, we got all these things that we could potentially do in a scene. Now, do something with that. I leave it to your own devices as the top or the dom to develop a scene based on some number of things in this set of potentials. And then you have time between that and when the scene actually happens. And then you slowly build up little hints. And especially, dog's on the move. Especially if you live together, you can get like real mindfucky with this. You can get real into... Jeanette McCurdy's also in the Fred movie. I've never seen that before. I have, honestly, I think the only reason I have been able to be on the internet for as long as I have is I have preserved my brain by not seeing some of the truly ye olde brain rot. Nobody's too old to watch iCarly. Not when you're, like, getting into high school and it's, like, or middle school and it's, like, lame to watch Disney Channel shows. Then you're too old. Yes. But it's about like, leaving little hints of like, maybe, leaving an order form out. Like maybe you get a package and you tell your partner you can't tell them what's in it, but you leave like the order slip out and they can see what company it's from. Or you leave a browser tab open on your like shared computer that's like, 10 ways, to use rubber bands, for kink or whatever. You just leave them little hints like that. Maybe you suddenly start buying a lot of hot sauces. And then you're like, I'm just buying hot sauce because I like hot sauce. Like, why do you think this is a big deal? It's just hot sauce. I mean, I did buy 24 bottles of Extreme XXL Soul on Fire, El Diablo hot sauce. And I bought every variety that I could, but I'm just experimenting with hot sauce, okay? Don't worry about it. Like, it's like that kind of thing where they're like, is it really going to involve hot sauce? I mean, I guess I did say food play was on the table. And like, it can also be for things that you do not plan to use in the scene. And that actually misdirection, red herring stuff can be more effective. Like if they said, like, if you know that they hate hot sauce and like, you understand because you're in a long-term partnership and you trust each other that you would not violate that boundary of like having like, using hot sauce on them in a scene. It's still going to mess with them to be like, okay, but like, why did they buy? Like, I don't think they're going to use it. But that is a lot of hot sauce. And then it turns out the hot sauce is for a taco bar that they're going to set up for like the after party for like after this big scene is done. Like, was the hot sauce used? Yes, but not for the reason you were expecting it to be used. And I find that kind of thing to just be like delightful, just amazing. This is what I get for stepping out for a bit. Hot sauce. Yeah. Talking about building anticipation through misdirection and mindfuckery is what we are talking about. But that's only something I'd recommend doing if you're like really in a trusting relationship with the person, not as like a first time scene with somebody and not like even the first couple of scenes. It's devious. I love it. Yeah. And maybe you can offer them a little bit of hot sauce, like at the end of the scene. Like, oh, were you hungry? You did so good during the scene. You spent a lot of energy taking all that, pain for me. Do you want a taco? And then you get them a taco, and then you get like the hot sauce. You just like, do you want some? Delightful. Anyways, look inside my head, I suppose, of the kinds of things I like planning but not receiving. Actually, I wouldn't mind that. Like, anticipation as a bottom I'm fine with. It's like pure surprise that I'm not fine with. All right. See you later, Lexi. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. The prehistoric ancestors is Skibbity Toilet. Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't, without Annoying Orange and Fred, we would not have Skibbity Toilet. This is true and correct. One dodge I want to try is having a sub bring a really nice hairbrush and then actually brushing their hair with it. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I love that one. Like, you're setting up like you're doing a regular punishment scene and you're like, bring me the hairbrush. And they're like, oh no, not the hairbrush. And then you're like, sit down. And they're like, okay, sit down. You're like, why are you so nervous? It's just a hairbrush. And you're like, okay. Why are you taking your pants off? I didn't tell you to take your pants off. and then you sit behind them and you just like stroke their hair and you just tell them how good they are. And they're like, you're not going to spank me with that? No, why would I do that? Like, just, I don't know. I love channeling the just like the deadpan nature of like, of course, what do you think of, why would I do that? like you haven't spanked them 60 bajillion times before that. Would you like an XXL Diablo hot sauce taco? Yeah. Listen, I love hot sauce. I love buffalo sauce, hot sauce. I'd be down. Maybe not immediately after a scene. I feel like maybe that wouldn't be the best time to have hot sauce, but you know. Yeah. I mean, you have to take your pants down when you have a spanking, right? That's like part of the whole process. Anyways, yeah, those are just little, that's kind of a brief overview of building anticipation. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like kind of a cornerstone to that versus like leaving little bits out and like asking them stuff. I feel like anything that involves something with them and their body is like fun to do. Like if you're just randomly like, can I measure you? And you just like measure their skull. you just get out like the seamstress tape and you're just like measuring the circumference of their skull. Like, they're gonna be like, what the fuck? Why is my dom measuring my skull? Like why do they need to know what the circumference of my head is? And like it doesn't have to be for any purpose. It can just be like, all right, they like maybe your biceps, maybe your like torso, like just get weird with it, you know? Just like doesn't have to be for any reason. It can be for literally nothing at all that you're not planning to do anything with. I feel like a good ratio of like things you are actually planning to use to like complete fake outs is probably like if you have, let's say, like 2 months to plan something, I would probably have like 4 things that are fake and like 2 things that are real, if it's obvious. Now, obviously, it's like an Easter egg hunt. You might put stuff out thinking your partner's going to notice it or find it, and it might just go completely over their head. So, also got to account for that in your estimations as well. Soul on Fire sounds like a type of hot sauce that I would expect the rock and roll band Godsmack to create and smell, at least to me personally. That probably could be the case. I just remember being in Louisiana and being in like stores that basically only sold hot sauce, and they all had like the most amazing names ever. It was all like Angel's Last Kiss, you know, it was very intense stuff. Good question though, love it. So many good questions today. But yes, do check out the video that I made on Surprise Kink if you have not seen that yet. I was thinking about a shirt, yes. With these days and this technology we have on the internet, you can basically Instaprint any shirt that you want online. I think you can do like even a single run t-shirt on like Redbubble or Spring or Teespring. I think it's just called Spring now, without having to do anything with it besides just make it for yourself. I remember catching a live of Rakita recently and seeing Nick and his mistress April doing some stuff. No! Well, underneath the desk? No. No. Oh, I believe you. I don't even, like, I can't, like, I think people underestimate the depravity of the internet. Because, like, so many people, they hear about things like this or things like, you know, creepy dudes on TikTok that are like, you know, claiming to have like all these relationships, all these women, and they're like, no, that's not real, that has to be fake, there's no way they've even touched a woman before. And it's like, do not ever underestimate things. People are tricky, they lie, and they are willing to do messed up shit. Like, listen, y'all, I've heard some things recently that you all will eventually know about in good time that are disturbing on a fundamental level. Like, You know how Rakita was getting, like, this is, like, I feel this is something I've heard with, like, was I Show Speed or, like, Kai Cenat or, like, one of those, like, I don't know, whoever, like, the big, like, Twitch/Kick streamer is. There was one of them that got in trouble for, like, allegedly receiving, like, a hand job or oral while on stream. And, like, people just do like, even if they know they have a young audience, they still do, like, messed up stuff for views and attention because they can. I mean, that's really the reason of the day, is because they can. That's shocking, but not really. It's shocking in terms of how often it happens, but not that it happens at all. I mean, I've recently obtained some information about a recent topic on our YouTube channel here, that in the way that Rakita was getting stuff done under the table to them, it was implied that they were receiving stuff in their car while recording TikTok videos. And I mean, believe it or don't. I kind of don't believe it, but I believe that he is the kind of person that would make his partners do that. Because nothing gets a lady going like sucking a guy off in between DoorDash orders. Am I right, ladies? That's what everyone's dream is. Everyone's like, I love sucking cock in between DoorDash orders. That's my favorite way to give somebody oral sex, honestly. What are people doing? I don't know. I just accidentally doomered myself for like 5 minutes there. I'm sorry. I'm pretty clueless when it comes to people messing with me, however. Yeah. Underestimate the depravity of the internet. Holy shit, that's scary. Yeah, don't do that. Do not underestimate it. Everyone's always trying to one-up each other. It's whatever you think is bad, there's a way to make it worse. Anyways, undoomering myself. Let's fucking get into some more questions, shall we? I know it's a little bit off topic, but it's the most eye-bleeding and funniest thing I saw on a live stream. Okay, he got arrested. How did he not get banned from YouTube? Like, I feel like, especially, I mean, reading between the lines, I'm assuming that what you're saying is that, like, he was getting sexual favors done literally under the table during a live stream, or, like, being inappropriately touched. That is 1,000% against terms of service. Like, how, I mean, I guess I'm assuming he still has a channel. Maybe he doesn't. It's like Rakita Law or something, right? Holy shit, this asshole has almost 500,000 subscribers. I mean, I guess he hasn't made a video in 9 months. Whoa, talk about a follower. I mean, shit. I mean, I feel good about myself now, because this guy has like twice as many followers, subscribers as I do, and he has a video that got 6,000 views a year ago. So a whole year of collecting views, and it got 6,000 views. That's bad. That's not a good ROI. And some shorts. I mean, I guess I'm assuming that he does have a live stream with has like a lot of like live stream views. The last one is 35K views. Is that the one where that thing happens? Is it still alive? I'm gonna see from the. It's time for rehab, dude. This is literally the top comment. Seeing Rakita like that is actually depressing. Hadn't seen him in quite a while, and it was shocking to see the shell of a man now. Yup. Wow. I mean, sheaf of tomfoolery is certainly a cute way of putting it, that's for sure. Do we know what he was on? Is that, like, public information? I don't know. Maybe that's not really for me to speculate about, but now you've made me morbidly curious. Emphasis on the morbid. I don't think he paid for subs. I think he got very, very popular during the Johnny Depp trial, and I think a lot of people subscribed to law channels because of that trial, but I don't think very many people kept up with the channels after the trial was done. Like, I know Emily Baker's views went like whoosh, like through the roof, and now they're like, I don't think they were below what they were before, but I think I mean, I think she's probably the most successful person to come out of that trial as like an independent YouTuber. but most of them I think had this like moment of like a couple of weeks and months of like very, very intense viewership, and then I think it dropped off pretty rapidly, and so you get kind of these like orphan subscribers that were around for this one very, very big event, and then they just didn't care about the content, because it turns out most people don't care about regular law coverage. They care about sensational news and like pop culture stuff. And so if it's not a current happening thing, you know, like it's not like, you know, the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef or whatever, you're probably not tuning in. But I think that kind of crash can be really hard on people. Like if you get used to having a certain amount of viewership and money every month coming in from YouTube, and then that suddenly just like goes away because the thing that you were popular for dried up, like that's, people do not always cope with that particularly well, even though you literally have a freaking law degree. Like in terms of people that would be the most able to no longer be a YouTuber and still make a shit ton of money, being a licensed attorney is, I mean, the law market is, from my understanding, relatively soft, so maybe not. But, you know, if they were a practicing lawyer for a long enough period of time, even if they stepped away to do YouTube for a while, if, you know, if they started their own firm, if something else, like, they would be able to work in the industry again. Absolutely. That, you know, it might take some time, but it could happen. More so than, like, somebody who gets famous at 16, drops out of high school, doesn't go to college, is famous for, like, maybe, let's say, like, 5 to 10 years, and then the platform they're on gets banned or dries up, you know, goes the way of Vine or LiveJournal, I guess. I don't think people got famous and, like, rich off a LiveJournal, but, you know, maybe that happened. And then suddenly they have to get a real job with no work experience, no degree, and, like, maybe not a lot to show for their years on the internet. And, you know, they're, you know, 28, 30, 34, and suddenly they don't really have anything else going for them. That's really hard. That's tough. I do not wish that on anyone. Thanks, I'm like, here paying for subs. Different paying for subs. Do not, I mean, pro subs are a thing. But also kind of not really. All right, I'm going to move the blanket again. Bandita, you're so good at hiding from the camera. How are you so good at hiding from the camera, my baby? You look so sad. She's like, I'm so cozy. She loves her favorite. I literally still have those pillows because those are her favorite pillows. And I will continue to buy more pillows in that exact surface, which is kind of like this fuzzy, like soft faux fur texture. She loves them. She always perches on top of them on the couch as well. It's so cute. Every time it happens, it makes me squee inside about how cute my dog is. At spanking parties, we use a sticker system: blue equal top, red equal bottom, yellow equal switch, and green equal observer. Oh, I like that. I wish I have occasionally seen, like, usually people will have like name tags or something, and then you can optionally write on there if you're like top, bottom, switch, you know, put whatever information you want in there. But I like the idea of like a color coded sticker system. I'd maybe want to change, like, because there are people who are like red, green, colorblind, right? So probably you'd want to do maybe like red and purple, or maybe like green and purple. I guess does color blindness affect purple? Because like purple is like a mix of red and blue. Does it make the purple look more? If you, maybe I don't know. I'm just having a brain explosion moment. Don't mind me. I don't think it does. I'm gonna Google it though. Does red green color blindness impact purple? Oh shit. AI overview. That's instantly going to be a lie. I know probably whatever it's saying is the opposite of the truth. Being red-green colorblind means people with it can easily confuse any colors which have some red or green as part of the whole color. So someone with red-green color blindness is likely to confuse blue and purple because they can't see the red element of the color purple. Oh, it does. Okay, now we know. Okay, so maybe orange would be better? Maybe we could do orange? But also there is totally red. There's kind of like red and orange, yeah? Okay, crap, we're running out of colors. Maybe we need to do like 2 different shades of something. Or maybe do like black and white. Maybe that would probably be easier. Magenta isn't real. Wow. Conspiracy theories over here. It does a little. It probably depends on like the color blindness in the individual person. Not that I imagine it's like something that's a huge issue, but you don't want to have confusion when it comes to like, oh, I thought that you were down for play, and then like they weren't, you know. Something that's good to avoid. I have a hard time telling blue and purple apart. Yeah. Metal toys are fun. The scientist who found aluminum spelled it that way. That is why aluminum is wrong. I heard. Oh, yeah. That's also, it's probably a British person, so I don't know if I need to respect their opinions too much. I joke. I kid. I love British people. I love the UK. The UK is great, except for maybe managed consent at your torture garden events a little bit better. It's my one complaint. Outside of like the Tory government and the NHS being underfunded and the slowly crumbling public transit infrastructure and the racism, and there's a lot of issues. I think honestly more fixable probably than the US, but that's neither here nor there. Election happening in July. Do not elect a Tory government again when you get the option to after all this mess, please. That's my plea. That's my plea to the UK voters watching. Do not re-elect a Tory government for the 18th bajillionth time, please. At some point, you're just doing it to yourself. You know, at some point, it's like, I can't stop making you hit yourself in the face. You're just doing it yourself. Anyways, no one needs to hear my opinions on British politics. Outside of everything about the UK, I love the UK. I mean, like, basically, yeah. I'm, like, kind of shocked that, like, Rishi Sunak ended up getting the prime ministership. I was like, well, what's the least bad option? What was her name? Penny Mordaunt, I think. There was somebody who was, like, just a straight up fucking transphobe that was in there. I mean, they're all, like, transphobic, but there's people who make being transphobic like a cornerstone of their platform. Tory plot to take the sword to Sunak and make Mordaunt PM. Wow. That's apparently, anyway, I don't really think that she's, like, great, but she seemed like she was the least bad option. But honestly, maybe you want to pick the bad option, and then hopefully no Tories will get elected to high office anymore. Anyways, holy shit, no one cares about my opinions on that. Someone was going to tell me I'm wrong. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Penny Mordaunt is more transphobic than I'm aware of. She probably is. But it's degrees over there. It's Turf Island, you know? It's more or less, not none. Most of the time, sadly. Oh, God. I just had a memory of something that happened in Parliament that was very uncomfortable that I'm not going to repeat. Alright, let's get to another question. A sock full of coins, writing that one down. Oh yeah, it's a fun one. Very silly, unexpected. You get to swing it around like you're playing with like nunchucks or something. It's fun. And with a threatening aura. I love how 300 years of British foreign policy was to prevent continental Europe from uniting against them, and now they've deliberately created exactly that for basically no reason. I know. I love how they, literally the biggest bag fumble of all time. Literally the biggest bag fumble of all time. And they were like, oh, but then we'll have more money for the NHS. No, you won't. Based on what? Fucking wishes? No. Oh, Brexit. Oh, Brexit. Scotland should have got out when they got the chance. Should have got out. That's my my extremely controversial, definitely not ever gonna happen opinion is Ireland should form a union with Wales and Scotland and rejoin the EU. And just leave England by itself. Though it's not really fair to like the English people that did not vote for Brexit. I feel like that has potential as an idea. I feel like it could work. Imagine how nuts it would be that like Queen Elizabeth dies, and then like the first thing that happens is it's like the union completely dissolves. It like reforms in a heretofore unknown way. Uh. Mm. Using a paddle sideways is great for thud. That is true. YouTube schedule, holidays don't matter, and like 2 a.m. until dawn is recording editing time. I luckily do not keep a 2 a.m. until dawn schedule. I have a relatively normalist schedule compared to most YouTubers, but there are times when I am up late working on stuff for sure. Oh, we have a super chat from, I don't know why it's not letting me highlight it. Why can't I see it? Ah, here we go, from Amy. Hi, Evie. Just started getting into male chastity play. Any way one can do so successfully with a key holder or a dom. You mean, I'm assuming you mean without, because I think that the default is with a key holder or a dominant, right? Like solo, you're asking about solo chastity play, yeah? Well, part of Ireland is in the EU. Part of Ireland is in the EU. Also, there's a form, like, I'm talking about specifically there being a Wales, Scotland, Ireland, as in the island of Ireland, the unified together, joining a union to be an EU together. Hopefully. That would be my very unformed American opinion of, like, what seems like a wild but crazy idea, but might be kind of fun if it happened. Yes, I mean without a male dom. Yes. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure to clarify that before I answered. So what's a safe word? If you haven't seen it yet, they have a really good video on chastity play and devices, because that's something that they are much more experienced with than I am. I would say absolutely yes, you can do chastity play on somebody with a penis without necessarily needing to have a key holder or a dominant partner. I think it depends on what your motivation for it is. Like, I feel like when you're doing it solo, it can kind of have almost like an intentional meditative, I'm restraining myself because I'm trying to spend my mental energy on like productivity vibe, and like maybe that's not it, but that's kind of the sense I get. Versus I feel like with like a key holder or with like a dominant partner, it's more the power of it, of like I'm giving up this thing that still is really important to me to someone else because I want them to be able to control it, and I'm like giving up something that's still really important. Does that distinction make sense? Hopefully it does. But yeah, I think if you're doing chastity play and you're doing it with yourself, I think what I would probably do if I was doing something similar, I would probably set it up to where I would have some kind of maybe daily intentional reflection on it at the end of the day for maybe like 5-6 minutes, just like contemplating the experience, how it made me feel, reminding myself what my goal for it, is, and focusing on that, maybe writing it down in a journal, doing whatever feels comfortable for you, and then possibly also, what was I wonder if there's like an app or something for like tracking it. I feel like also if you're into like solo, if you're into like self-hypnosis, I am certain that there are many, many hypnosis options for this that you could look at that would also probably enhance the solo experience if you do want to make it feel a little bit more like you're doing it with a partnership. I kept automatically correcting it. That's very annoying. YouTube is just doing weird shit. I don't know why. It keeps deleting anything I put with a link in it. It's strange. But hopefully, yeah, I think that's probably, and I would say the What's the Safe Word video would probably be a good place to start. Also with like specifically if you have something that is like with a lock and a key, you can definitely, I sort of almost imagine like getting yourself like a really nice like a ring box or something, and like keeping the key in the ring box and like having it in like a special spot. Maybe you put it kind of in like, like the center on your dresser next to some flowers, like kind of have it like preserved somewhere sort of special to emphasize like the symbolism of it, even if somebody else doesn't necessarily have it. Yeah, zhuzh it up. That's my advice. But otherwise, I'm not really, I don't, I've never really like played with that before myself, so I don't really have a lot of suggestions. But if anyone else does, feel free to share in the chat. It's a very popular kink for a reason. A lot of people are into it. I did self chastity for a month while using ChatGPT to set a time. Just ask it. The new free GPT is not too restrictive on what info we'll give. Oh my god. So like, okay, so like I guess I don't know like what the goal is, like if it's always like a wearing it 24/7 for like multiple. I think that's probably the initial fantasy goal for a lot of people is I'm going to be locked like a whole week. Um but I imagine it's probably like every day you put it on, maybe you reaffirm your intentions with it. And you you have Chat GPT pro dom you setting a reminder. I mean, I guess it depends on if you want AI to have that information about you. You could also set your own timer on your phone and just hold yourself to it. But I like that's kind of funny. I like that. Dom GPT. And there is a market for that. There is a market for that. That's very interesting. I'm not surprised by that at all. That I there are so many ways to easily make all these different bots say things they shouldn't say. I'm not, yeah. My husband and I were talking with his two best friends lately who know our dynamic and think it's cool. We thought it would be fun to do servicey stuff for them when they are over. Any thoughts or advice? I couldn't fit most of the details into one post, but like the idea is to have a night where I could be openly in service sub mode, but serve and pamper them too. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like as long as they're cool with it, I feel like that's fine. Like, the important part of consent is not that they like know everything about BDSM or like understand it fully, or like your doms too or something. I think if you just want to show them a nice time and take care of them and like they're respectful towards you, I feel like it would probably be important, especially if you don't really know a lot about kink, to like have your husband slash dom like set boundaries with them for how they can interact with you, because I would not want to leave it up to chance that they just like know where the line is, like if you're in service mode, like what titles can they use, how do they refer to you, how do they like make sure that they're kind of up to speed on what that looks like and like what you're comfortable with. But I think like sharing service with people is fine, like getting them drinks, bringing them snacks, clearing the table, making dinner for everybody, whatever that looks like to you. I think that's all fine. Yeah. It just depends on like what level of comfort you have with like, I don't know, like them interacting with you. I think is probably the big one. But if they're supportive of you and they're respectful, then I say go for it. Yeah. I'm sure, listen, men need to be pampered too, okay? Men deserve to be pampered, and I think it's perfectly fine to show them a nice time where it's like, ooh, I can just have somebody bring me like another diet soda to put in my glass with more ice, like and it's not like I think a lot of people have a lot of discomfort with receiving kindness and receiving service from people that's not like a tit for tat, or not something where it's like, oh well, you're doing this because you're gonna get this thing from me. And just showing people unreserved genuine kindness that is just done because you want to do it, I think can actually be really like healing and helpful for people. So I am all for that. Yes, it does make more sense. I did order one, so I was thinking it will help with my focus on task management, while also keeping my mind focused for longer without wandering too far. I think it can definitely help with that. I think there's also people that like the entire time they're caged up, they're thinking about it, and that's kind of like why they do it, is because they're thinking about it the whole time while it's happening. But I think for other people, it can definitely help with controlling urges, maybe, or refocusing the energy into other things. Yeah. They also need to listen. Every like men also can need a nice bath and some little bubbles and a little rubber ducky, and there's no shame in that, and that should just be fine. Honestly, what happened to rubber ducks? I never see them anymore. What happened to the rubber ducks? I am literally gonna buy a rubber duck to put in my bathroom because I don't have one, and I would like to see one in my bathroom at all times. God, my friends were so obsessed with Sherlock when we were teens. I mean, I feel like that's fair. I can't like I was at the end of my teen years when I started to watch it. I think I was just in college when I started to watch it. So I was still technically I was 18, so I was technically still in my teens. How times have changed. The last season of Supernatural was like 2 years ago. Wait, I thought it ended at like season 13. It went on longer than that. What people will do for money. What people will do for money. I used to watch the CW superhero shows, Flash, Arrow, Gotham, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, but that was about it. I had no idea that any of those were a thing. I think I've heard of Arrow before. Wasn't there one with like Superman? There's a couple with Superman, but I feel like there is a specific CW one where he's like a young Clark Kent and like a teenager going to high school or whatever. There's like 2 episodes of that once. That's all I got. That's all I got. Not a question, but I genuinely enjoy your submissive, informative videos and would love to see more. I am consistently learning about my subspace, even though I've been a submissive for years. Yes, I am totally happy to make more of those. I feel like I kind of like change the focus of my videos every once in a while. And currently, like, especially like right now, what I'm making, but maybe you all haven't seen yet, is I'm talking more about like different types of role play and then like collaring and stuff like that. But I would be happy to make more information about service submission and like submission in general for YouTube content. But I don't always know what people want to see. And I try not to repeat subjects unless I have a really good reason to. Like if a video is 5 years old and the original was 8 minutes long, like I don't even really feel like I'm redoing the video because it's so different. But I'd be curious to know if you want more submissive information from a video, what kinds of things would you be looking for? Oh, Smallville. Yes, Smallville. Also, Superman and Lois. Yeah. I like the idea of breadcrumbing. Yeah, I don't even know if that's actually what it's called. I'm like worrying that's like accidentally a term from something else that I'm misusing and for some reason it was in my brain. But yeah. Mandita completely laying out. All right. As a mind game, I once laid out some thumbtacks among the toys, but never used them for anything. It totally worked as a mindfuck. Yes. Yeah, especially if you're the kind of person where when you put together a scene, you're like, here's all the toys, and here's like, gloves and like what, whatever your aftercare stuff. You got it all neat and laid out and ready to go. Some people just like leave shit in a bag and just grab whatever. But if you're that kind of person where you normally have it very organized, putting in a little red herring that's like, we didn't talk about that. Don't worry about it. And literally, they don't have to worry about it because you're not going to use it. But whenever you take a little pause and it sounds like you're going over to grab something else, they're going to be like, are they going to grab the thing? That's very fun. The deadpan nature sells the mindfuck. True. You can be. I think there's a couple ways to do it. I think like deadpan is probably the most accessible for people, but you can also definitely go like kind of Joker brain route with it. You can get like, if you're good at roleplay and you like doing heavier roleplay, you can definitely go in a more roleplay heavy direction with it too. And also like, if you sell the idea that your current character or persona is unpredictable and a little off the rails, and then you're going to be able to sell it. That's a little trickier than just straight up deadpan, especially if you're not really role playing. He must have paid for subs. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. No subscribers on the other side. Yeah. I don't think I am confident that he's the other guy, the TikTok guy, I think he's paid for some amount of subscribers or views. I can't prove anything definitively. I have a very when you suddenly have a giant jump in subscribers that make you instantly get past a very big milestone all in one day, and you didn't publish a video on that day that did disproportionately well or got attention, it's gonna look a little suspicious. Oh, color blindness can affect purple. I can't tell purple from brown. Oh. The more you know. Yeah, I guess I can see that. Because purple and brown, they are, especially depending on the shade, they are very similar. Colors you would not think would be close together, and yet actually are. I've only seen gray tones go wrong once. Yeah, I think I can guess what thing you're referring to there. It's not a conspiracy theory. There's a whole thing about how magenta isn't real in rainbows. Oh, it's not on, the color spectrum. Yeah. I mean, I thought you meant sort of a horses aren't real kind of way. But also, horses aren't real. No, I'm just kidding. I can't say that. I can't say the pony players aren't real. That's not fair. Thank you for doing this live. I love watching you. You're so welcome, Kendra. Thanks for being here. Here. Alright, I'm trying to, I just saw a question. Let's see. Crap, I know I missed a bunch of questions earlier, but I can't scroll up far enough to be able to see them. So, if I did not get to answer your question yet, and you asked it earlier in the stream, I would re-put it in the chat now, because YouTube has eaten all of the earlier chat, and I know that I've missed questions that I remember I saw scrolling by, but I can't remember them enough to answer them. Is there a punishment if you fail to keep the specific amount of time for chastity? Probably not built into Chat GPT, but you could probably also create that to yourself. But that's the problem / the complexity with solo play is if you want to have a rules and punishment structure, you have to hold yourself to that, and that can be more difficult than an external person doing it. Tell Chat GPT what your goal is. I have a huge log of Dom sub Chat GPT conversations, roleplay ones. I didn't even like that. Okay. I mean, I know there's different chat bots that are different personalities you can interact with, but I didn't think that you could straight up do Dom sub roleplay with it. That's new information. I don't know if I love that. I mean, I'm happy for you. I don't know if I love that turn of events in the world. The rubber ducks are all on cruise ships, apparently. I'm new to kink and shy. How do I go about asking my partner to try something with me? Well, there are a couple of resources I can point you to. I would say kind of my normal piece of advice for people. Okay, so you already have a partner and you want to introduce kink. One, I think it's good to have a little dip your toes in moment, just trying to get a feel for how they generally feel about kink. Let's say there's a TikTok or some kind of social media thing that happens where kink is a subject, and you talk to them about it. You're like, oh wow, did you see this TikTok where this person talked about this kink thing or whatever? What do you think about that? If their reaction is oh my god, kink is so gross and disgusting, 50 Shades, so disgusting, I don't know why anyone would ever be into anything like that. If they're instantly super negative with it, probably not going to be very positive for you to then go, actually, I'm kinky. So get a sense for me what their initial impression of kink is. Maybe they might say something about yeah, I've read about that before. And you're then you can think to yourself, they've read about Dom sub relationships before? Okay, that's a little something to work with. Okay. So try to get a little test of the waters first. And then once you've kind of evaluated, okay, we're got decision tree happening, right? Okay, they have a super negative reaction. Probably do not proceed forward. Consider if including kink in your relationship is important enough where it's worth potentially ending the relationship over it. And if you're willing to kind of like let this relationship go where it's going to go and maybe not bring up kink as a subject and rock the boat too much. Or, other decision point, right? They have a neutral to positive reaction to the test, which is not, I say test, but like, I don't mean in the like a alpha, like male, like shit test kind of way. I mean in the like, you're testing to see if they're comfortable with something or not without explicitly bringing it up in a way that if they're really against it could have very negative outcomes. So do a little initial test. Then you talk to them about it more explicitly. And I wouldn't unnecessarily, even at this point, start talking about what you want and your desires yet. We're still in the, like, exploratory phase of, like, how much do they really know? How do they really feel about this? I'm very cautious with this because especially I'm assuming based on what you're saying, you're probably male submissive. I could be totally wrong about that. But I find that with male submissives, in order to avoid potentially traumatizing reactions from a partner that's very negative about male submission, it's best to kind of test things out first. I would maybe propose like watching a movie or together, or like showing them like some kind of video or thing you find interesting. Like for example, like if you're into like sciencey stuff, Dr. K has a video talking about, I think, kink and BDSM. It's a little bit older, but I believe it's still on his channel. And you could like watch that, be like, oh, I just want to understand like the psychology of this a little bit more. And if they also find it interesting and it's more positive and anything, then you can go into the next step of like talking about stuff more explicitly about like, hey, so I realized we've kind of been talking about kink a little bit more and we've had some conversations about it. And I'm actually kind of curious about exploring it. Is that something that you would also be into? I think it could be really fun to add to our relationship. And I always recommend emphasizing the positive things that it can bring to a relationship, that it's an additive thing to what you already have and not a replacement for sex. It's not because like they're not good enough on their own or because they're boring. Like avoid any connotation like that where it's like, I need this thing really and what we were doing before wasn't enough for me and it was bad and boring, whatever. Stay very far away from that. Even if you might be feeling it now in the moment, just stick to positive, additive, fun, mutually enjoyable, focused on both people liking it. That's the wheelhouse to stay in. And I recommend from this point, you're bringing it up, you're talking about it, you're being vulnerable, you're saying, hey. Also, I will say, when you get into the conversation, do not have it be a, like, we need to talk, sit down, like, stress-inducing thing. Because the emotional context you talk about things in will flavor your partner's reaction. So if you build it up to be like, I have something I need to talk to you about, and you act, like, very distant, scared, ashamed, guilty, like that's going to amplify your partner's emotions and they're going to become anxious and they're going to be worried and they're going to be nervous for the conversation. And if you put them in that mindset, they're going to be less likely to receive the thing you're about to say positively, even if you mean it as a positive thing. So just keep it casual, just not even necessarily planning to have a big old sit down conversation or nothing, but just, you know, maybe over dinner one night or after you're done like watching a TV show, you're getting ready for bed, just like just bring it up, just whenever it feels natural and right to be like, hey, so I've been thinking a lot. I know we've talked about kink a little bit more. It's something that, you know, we've been looking at online. We watched this movie, whatever you did, and I'm curious to know more about what you think. I'm curious about exploring it a little bit more and actually maybe trying it out. How does that sound to you? I think it could be a really fun thing to add to our relationship. And then you get into and they say, oh yeah, that's totally awesome. Or like, no, I don't really think that's my thing. If they're like, no, I don't really think I'm into that, or I could never do that. Sorry, do not go past go. Do not click $200. Do not ever force someone to be kinky. It's really hard. They have to set their own pace. If they're open to maybe exploring something, they have to be the one to dictate that. But if they're like, yeah, you know, I could be interested in trying that. What do we do? Then you can get into like more specifically, well, I'm thinking we could try this, or I've been curious about this or whatever. Now is not the time to be like, well, actually, ever since I was 11 years old, I've had these fantasies and blah, 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 blah. Like, do not like info dump at them for 2 hours about your hidden fantasies that you've had for your whole life. That might be there, it might be true. You don't want to pressure someone to be able to receive all of that, you know? But yeah, I feel like Secretary is a good movie to start with. I think if they're into like K-pop or K-dramas, Love Unleashes is a good one to start with. I mean, if you want to like have like a bad movie night, you could also watch the first 50 Shades of Grey movie and then like agree to like talk about it together afterwards. I think that can be fun to laugh at as a couple. But you have options for sure. Secretary is good. I'm pretty sure it's just called Secretary and not The Secretary. Yeah, it's called Secretary. Just FYI. I think there might be something else that's called The Secretary that's different. Oh, thank you for doing this live. You're so sweet and approachable. Thank you. That really means a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you. TX Meats. $30 and a pair with a thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, let's get to a couple more questions here. We were looking for unique punishments for submission for masochists. I love your original series, and we use several from that. Oh, that's great. I'm glad that you enjoyed those ideas. Helped my partner with his portfolio, but going to be lurking here in the meantime. Awesome. Good luck on the portfolio. Big doings, big stuff. Content you made 5 years ago, especially only 8-minute long, can lack the wisdom of insights you've gained along the way. Yes, very true. I find I'm often surprised by how much I knew, even like when I was only a year or two into the scene, because I was very dedicated to researching stuff and I went to a lot of classes and I had partners that were more experienced than me. But, you know, there's always room for improvement, especially with the magic of scripting and editing and having a teleprompter. I almost said a tricorder. That's fucking not even close to, it's not even a thing that exists in real life. We have a huge spanking party coming up in 2 weeks. Do you have any important tips for advice for guys that are new to topping? There is, I'm assuming it's like a Spanko spanking party. Maybe not like, because there's like Spanko spanking parties and then there's like kink spanking parties and they're a little bit different. But if you have not seen Jillian Keenan's videos, she has quite a number of videos about being in the Spanko community and that whole world, which sort of like it overlaps with kink, but it's also kind of its own separate thing. And that would probably be, she has some actually, I think I did an interview with her where we talked about spanking party. So if you haven't seen that interview with Jillian Keenan on my channel, I would definitely watch that because we talk about different parties and what to expect. I think that's going to be really, really helpful for you. But when you're new to topping, I think, I mean, I don't really know with Spanko stuff. I imagine there's probably more tops than, I don't know, actually. There might be more bottoms than tops. I'm not sure what the demographic makeup there is. But usually it's the case there's more bottoms than tops. So that gives you a little bit of an advantage, even if you don't really have a lot of experience. I would say I would plan to primarily go there to observe and meet other people for the next party, assuming it happens regularly and it's not like a semi-annual event. To meet people, make names. I'm assuming pickup play is probably going to be a possibility or common. So look for FetLife information about that or like other social media postings about potential options for, you know, pickup play and things like that. And then just be honest. Like say that you're new. Say, hey, I'm really interested in this. This is what I've learned. And I haven't actually done a spanking before. And there are a lot of bottoms, especially if you're local and maybe you're looking for a longer term, like outside of a party connection. There are absolutely people that are going to be like, yes, I love playing with new people. I'm totally happy to help you. You know, let me show you the way. And there are people that enjoy that as long as you are willing to receive feedback and, you know, maybe not play to the level that you might see other people playing at, but you can eventually get there with practice. I sure feel like there's a ton more bottoms, but that's just my experience. Yeah, I would say most parties, it's mostly bottoms. Bottoms are everywhere. I love Jillian Keenan. I love when we interviewed with her. Yeah, she's great. Jillian is fantastic. Lots of info about spanking stuff. She's like really like the person talking about Spanko stuff on YouTube. It's a fantastic resource. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm very picky about what impact play toys I allow on my back. My tops never cross that boundary, but they will still run the toys across my back to mess with me and build anticipation. Yes. Yeah, there's also that too. There's like, we can maybe you have a hard limit around like no impact play on like your upper back, but you maybe can like, run claws down a back or like tickle or like do other things that aren't necessarily impact. Yeah. I also can't tell blue from green and can't see yellow highlighter. Oh. Well, I hope you never had a class that required you to use a yellow highlighter then. That would suck. Thank you. I feel a lot better about asking my partner to try something new. Yes. I think as long as you frame it as like, we're just trying something new, we're not committing to changing our whole relationship, we're not committing to like becoming a BDSM couple. Like you're just trying out new things. That's what people should do. I think especially if you have a history of open communication in the bedroom in your relationship outside of kink, like you feel comfortable talking with each other about problems or asking for new things in the bedroom, even just like saying like, hey, I want to try this new restaurant, do you want to try it too? And like knowing that you can communicate in an honest and open way, that's going to make a lot of difference if you have that basis there for sure. Do you use vegan milk to make hot cocoa? Yes, I do. Is there specific milk or method used? I use a stovetop. It depends. I usually use, gosh, what is the brand name? I think it's the Silk Protein Milk, whatever brand of oat milk is around, or Not Milk. I use one of those three. I probably like Not Milk the best. I don't know, the Silk Protein Milk is also pretty good. But those ones are both blends. You do have to be careful because different plant-based milks hold on to heat more and they take on a different flavor when they're heated. Almond milk, for example, will really hold on to heat, which is good if you want to have, a cup of something and walk around with it. But and it gets very, very hot. But that's normally what I use. I've never had a problem with it being like an off flavor though. I've never had that be an issue unless like I think if it's I don't really like pea plant milk or hemp or sunflower. I haven't really liked any of those. Soy's also kind of borderline. I like it in blends, but not really by itself. And like coconut milk or cashew, I'm not really a fan of either. It's kind of like it's almond milk, oat milk. That's kind of more my wheelhouse. I've never had it taste funny when it's heated, but certainly almond milk will like get very hot. That's been my experience. There's also, there are also like vegan store-bought creams you can get too that are really, really good for that if you want it to be extra, extra good. But anyways, it's after 8, so it's time for me to go, y'all. It's time for me to wrap things up here. Coconut milk. I find coconut milk just makes everything kind of taste like coconut, and I get sick of it because it's so much of it everywhere. But that is also a choice you can have as well. All right, Paparino. See if she wakes up for me doing this, because she might wake up. It'll be very cute. Oh, thank you, wise guy. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to just make sure there's not a question that goes along with that before I end the stream, because I feel really bad if somebody donated and then immediately I wasn't able to get to the question. Oh, here we go. I went to GFB. I don't know what GFB is. I don't know if that's an event. It sure feels like there's, as soon as I tell Vanillas I'm a sub or bottom, they think I'm, a pain slut. I think is probably what you meant. Yeah. The people only think that kink is two things. They think kink is getting tied up, but not in the way that people actually get tied up, and they think it's extreme pain. These are the two things they think that kink is. That's so strange. Interesting. Anyways, I was talking about the oat milk thing, the almond milk thing for the last one. No question. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Just thank you. All right, well, I'm going to go, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this Friday night. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Drink some water. Have a fun, long weekend. If you're going to be out in the sun, wear some sunscreen, okay? We do not want to be increasing our skin cancer risk with unnecessary first of the season burns, okay? So have fun, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye.